bless him. Hallelujah. So let us all rise and face the east. Nasi.
First of all, giving honor to the God of our forefathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, the God of Yaakov. Tell them about Yehovah for allowing us and keeping us in these days and times where every step we take, every breath we take is always in question with the forces that tend to come against us. I stand before you, not because I qualify to pray on behalf of those people that nominated me to pray for them, but stand before you in pleading that my sins do not cause them any harm by being nominated to pray on their behalf. I also stand before you humbly and say, forgive me for my sins, transgressions, iniquity, and pardon this people, not because we deserve it, but because you are gracious and in the memory of our forefathers and for your great name's sake. And as we go through this particular day on your holy Shabbat day, those that are sick, those that have corona, those that are unemployed, those that's homeless, we ask you, Most High God, that you be merciful with them and aid them in their reformation. And as we stand before you in this holy Shabbat day, thank you for allowing the Shabbat day to be a sign between you and the children of Israel forever. And as we go on and begin to reach the conclusion of the Shabbat day, we ask you to strengthen us and be with us that we could be better each week. We look for the time where it be more healthy people in this world than sick people. We look for the time where there be more righteous people than wicked people. We look for the time for your nation, Yisrael, to be back in their rightful spot. We look for the time where the prophet said, in that day, you shall be one and your name shall be one. And as we go through this particular day, the wisdom and knowledge and understanding that was disseminated through the various congregations around the world, we ask you to bless those places there, keep them strong, and give them more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to disseminate amongst the world. And let us be the message we bring, the song we sing. We ask you in your holy divine name, Adonai Zebelo, hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah.
Blessed be the Most High King. We're going to move straight ahead, and we're going to hear from the teacher of this afternoon, that teacher being Samal Zaccar Ben Dan. Hallelujah. Blessed be.
First and foremost, offering all honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov, thanking him for all things and thanking him for everything. I bid you in the tongue of our forefathers, Shabbat Shalom Nicole. Please be seated. Thanking the Most High God for life, thanking him for strength, for food, clothing, and shelter. Thanking the Most High God because he is good and his mercy endures forever. Praying that everyone is well. Praying that the Most High God in these turbulent times, praying that the Most High God is with you. Praying that the Most High God is showing you that he's with you. When things like this happen, we as a people tend to become a bit concerned. We as a people tend to look at the events of the day and wonder exactly what's going on. And again, we constantly talk about it. These are the days and these are the times that it's important to get closer to God. And these are the days and these are the times that it's important for us to understand exactly what God is doing and why he's doing it. Because when you don't, and when we lose focus on exactly what's happening and we fail to put everything in perspective, then that's when situations like what happened this past week get us rattled. And they shouldn't get us rattled for a variety of reasons. First reason being that the Most High God is judge and king over all the earth and hasn't relinquished his power or his autonomy to anyone or to anybody. But the events that happened this week should show us a few things. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue in the book of Jeremiah chapters 24 and 25. But before we get to that point, before we get to those scriptures, because those scriptures are actually going to speak to the Most High God and how he dealt with us and the reasons that we're here in the first place. Those are going to speak to that. But as that portion is speaking to that, I want to speak to us being here now and what we can do to safeguard and protect ourselves while we're here. So, January 6th. For those who don't know, which I'm sure everybody at this point has seen, they literally stormed the Capitol and pushed past the police. In some cases, the police assisted them in moving the barricades in other cases. They stormed the Capitol, a federal building. They scaled the walls of a federal building. They called us monkeys, right? They scaled the walls. They got inside, destroyed, caused damage and destruction. And at this point now, last I checked before Shabbat started, 5 people had died. So when we speak of these events, Chief Uziel touched on it this morning. I'm going to touch on it now. When we speak of these events, we don't speak to it from a perspective of taking joy in what happened. Because at no point do we take joy when people die. At no point do we take joy when people are hurt or when damage or destruction occurs. Chief Uziel actually read it this morning where it said, you shall not hate an Egyptian because you were strangers in his land. It's true. It's true. And guess what? The Egyptians raped us. The Egyptians murdered us. The Egyptians did all of those things, and yet God still said, you shall not abhor an Egyptian because you were a stranger in their land. So I say all of that to say, we're not a people that are meant to hate. That's not godly for us. God already said that his enemies are his enemies. And how God is going to deal with whoever he's going to deal with, that's up to the Most High God. We as God's people need to find a way to motivate and inspire and to help our people to understand the events of today from the perspective of, and help them to understand from that perspective and help them to understand why things happen. So we, as Torah practicing Israelites, we share many of the thoughts of a lot of the activists that came before us. So we share thoughts from people like Martin Luther King. We share thoughts of activists like Malcolm X. The biggest difference between them and us is doctrine. And what happens is their doctrine, our doctrine may be different than their doctrine, but the desire that we have, similar to the desire that they have to uplift and inspire our people, that's all the same accord. And that's what we're the same. We're the same as those people who came before us, and because we're the same as them, we don't knock them, we don't bash them, we don't trash them for the stance that they took. Because the stance that they took, whether we agree with the doctrine or not, the stance that they took is that they were willing to give their lives so that things could be better for you and me, for you and I. However, the difference is that we come from a scriptural perspective to unite our people through scripture rather than through religion. Because from the beginning, the goal of religion at its inception was always to divide. And the goal of Torah has always been to unite and to gather. So I want us to also understand that just because many of us follow Torah after a fashion, we shouldn't be so quick to forsake other people, the message that other people are going to bring just because we deem that they don't understand or follow Torah. We can't be quick to nullify that because the message is still a message. And with that being said, I want us to consider people like Balaam, right? People like Nebuchadnezzar, people like the different kings of Assyria, most notably Sennacherib, and also Cyrus and Darius, who all had different doctrines, all who were idolatrous and served other gods, but yet God deemed them as his servant because he used them for his cause. So I say all of that to say is because a lot of times we get caught up and we say we nullify the message that somebody brings because of the stance, because of our perception of their background, not listening to the fact that this is a person that God might be using to what? Just give us a message. And that's the part that we need to consider. We can't continue to be small-minded to think that God can't use somebody from any background in order to bring a message to his people. And that's one of the major points that I want to make regarding that. And so again, I know many of us are shocked because of the events that took place, but if you paid attention to what happened over the last 4 years, you really shouldn't be shocked at all. Because if you paid attention to what was happening ever since President Obama left office, you saw that there has been a concerted effort to incite people against the freedoms that they feel that they are now losing. And that's really what this was all about. Didn't really have much to do with Biden or Trump or anything like that. The main focus and the main thing that this had to do with was you have a people who are now seeing the liberties that the privilege that they get to enjoy. They don't want to see you have the same privilege that they have. And that's part of what's happening here. But one of the things that I want us to consider is that oppressors don't think like us. Americans don't think like us. We're not American. I understand we were born in America, but we're not American. When you have a group of people that can look at the events of what happened on Revi'i on Wednesday, you have people that are making posts that are saying, I remember I saw one post in particular where it said, this lady served her country for 14 years and she was murdered all because she was exercising her First Amendment right. That's what they said. That's how they look at it. That's how they view it. Last time I checked, the First Amendment did not protect you and allow you and afford you the opportunity to break into a government building and commit criminal trespass. She was inside the building. She was shot inside the building. And again, not celebrating the fact that she was shot, just trying to put everything in perspective. Because just think about it for a minute. She was shot from trespassing in that government building, and everybody is upset. Yet, the same group of people is upset because the police officers who trespassed into Breonna Taylor's house and shot her, now they've just been fired. And they're angry and upset about that as well. Just think about it. We wonder, how can you not know that this was going to happen when they have been on social media talking about this for months? Ever since the election happened, all you saw was these posts and these tweets about, see you on January 6th. We're going to make a ruckus. We're going to do all of these different things, and that's what you saw. Even up on January 6th, he said, and so y'all got to remember the gas masters now. When we were younger, these are the people that we used to say they always gassing up a situation, the insiders. Right. And that's exactly what he did, because he stood there and he said, we going to march down to the Capitol building and we going to wild out. And I'm going to be right there with you. And as they marched down to the Capitol building all upset, he went home. His sons got on a flight and left. And now you stir up all of these people and get them here thinking that some injustice has been done. And this is what you get. And the other part of that is we look and we like, why they not shooting at them? Because they not shooting at them because they don't look at them like they look at you. Different. So you can't expect that. Remember when the Black Lives Matter march happened? And in preparing for that march, they had the National Guard standing on the steps of the Capitol waiting for us to come. In this case, once the National Guard finally got there, they were escorting people and helping them down the stairs of the building, hoping that they don't trip and get hurt.
All right, now.
That's what I saw. If you trespass in this place, everybody who was in that place when the National Guard came, that place was supposed to be locked down and they were all supposed to be arrested because they were trespassing. The same rules that they have, don't expect for you. Because for you, for us, for people like you and I, is different. Because they don't look at you with the same love as they look at their own. What's the message in that? We need to look at our own with the same love. We need to look at our own with a certain amount of love that would allow us to be able to come together and do certain things together. That's right. That's the difference. And that's what we need to learn from that. We need to learn from that. America is not the justice system for you because that's not what you were here for. Thank you. It's not what you were here for. And just putting everything into perspective about why we're here, now we're going to go into the book of Jeremiah to talk about exactly why we're here. Because when we look out and we wonder, how could such tragedy and travesty and all of these things happen to us? What could we possibly have done for us to deserve all of this? We're going to read about it right now.
Teach us.
Come on. 24.
The book of Yirmiyahu, known as Jeremiah, 24th chapter. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yahweh showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs set before the temple of Yah. After that, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Yehuda, and the princes of Yehuda, with the craftsmen and the smiths from Jerusalem, and had brought them to Babylon.
So, just to put everything, and I know we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, and I want us to understand. So, the way the book of the prophet was put together, it's not put together in chronological order. So what you're actually going to see is when we get into 25, chapter 25 actually took place before chapter 24. But this is the way that it was put together, and this is the time where, just so we understand everything that's happening, we were just fighting with the Assyrians. At this point, when Nebuchadnezzar came, the Assyrians were basically done, but we still had, the Assyrians were basically done, but we still had the kingdom of Egypt that was still a threat at the time, which we were trying to keep the kingdom of Egypt, we were trying to keep Egypt with us. As we always ran to Egypt for help, this is what we were continuing to do. Remember that. We always ran to Egypt for help, and God always said, don't run to Egypt for help. When we get into 25, just remember that. So this is the point where Babylon came in. The king of Egypt had set up Jehoiakim. Babylon came in. After Jehoiakim died and Jehoiakim put up his son, Babylon came in, took him, and the king of Babylon set up Nebuchadnezzar to be king. The king of Babylon set up Zedekiah to be king. And this is the first wave of the captivity of Judah, which happened probably around 597 or so BCE. Come on.
Verse 2. One basket had very good figs, like the figs that are the first ripe, and the other baskets had very bad figs, which could not be eaten, they were so bad. Then said Yahweh unto me, what do you see, Yirmiyahu? And I said, figs, the good figs, the very good figs, and the bad, the very bad, that cannot be eaten, they are so bad.
So as the Most High God typically does, he gives the prophet some sort of a sign or some sort of anomaly for them to look at. And so he showed them two sets of figs. One fig was nice. One set of figs was nice, pretty. The other set of figs was just bad and rotten. Come on.
And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, thus saith Yahweh Elohei Yisrael, like these good figs, so will I regard the captives of Yehudah, whom I have sent out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans for good. And I will set my eyes upon them for good, and I will bring them back to this land, and I will build them and not pull them down, and I will plant them and not pluck them up. I will give them a heart to know me, that I am Yahweh, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. For they shall return unto me with their whole heart. And as the bad figs, which cannot be eaten, they are so bad, surely thus saith Yahweh, so will I make Zedekiah king of Yehudah and his princes, and the residue of Jerusalem that remains in this land, and them that dwell in the land of Egypt.
So now, just think about what's happening here. So the Most High God is using this as a sign, and he's saying the good figs, think about it. At this point, all Israel is going to captivity. God has already established that. But what he said is the good figs that can be eaten, those are the figs that are represented by the children of Israel, the Judites at that point, that's actually being carried away into captivity to Babylon. Those are the good ones. Because what's going to happen is they're going to go, they're going to serve their captivity in Babylon, and then I'm going to give them a heart to know, and they're going to come back. But the bad figs are going to be the ones that's going to be staying in the land for the next 11 years under Zedekiah. Those are the bad ones.
Wow.
And just think about that for a minute. You would think that the people who actually get to stay in the land,
wow,
those were the ones that were good. Right. And I'm telling you, you can't figure God out.
That's right.
You can't figure God out. Because what happened is they thought that because they were the ones that were saved, they thought that those were the ones that were able to stay in the land, so they were okay. They weren't as bad. That's not the way God looked at it.
Oh.
God said the ones that stayed in the land were the ones that were the worst.
The worst.
And look what he said at the end of 9. So at 8, he said, "So will I make Zedekiah, the king of Judah, and his princes, and the residue of Jerusalem that remain in this land, and them that went down into Egypt already." So the ones that went down into Egypt for safety, for the safety of Egypt, God already deemed them to be just as bad as the ones that have stayed in the land, equivalent to those bad figs that can't be eaten, the bad figs that can't be saved, the bad figs whom the Most High God is going to show indignation against, because those were the bad ones. Because we weren't supposed to go down into Egypt. And all through the book of Isaiah, the Most High God said that don't lean on Egypt, because Egypt is a broken reed. What happened is we always leaned on Egypt. Then, just like now.
Yes, sir.
And look at how the two coincide. Just like we leaned on Egypt then, when it was falling apart, is the same as us leaning on Egypt, America, right now, that's falling apart. And they're falling apart. They can't get their own selves together. And yet, if they can't fix what they have to fix with their own selves, how do you expect that they're going to fix something with you? Don't lean on Egypt. You know, I want to let you know the difference between how we think as godly people, because godliness is in us, and how American oppressors think. I want to show you the difference. Even with this, and again, for those who think he just talked politics, hear me. I'm not talking politics, I'm talking reality. I want you to understand what's happening. Please understand what's happening. And then you take that and compare that to Torah. Because what they did is he incited treason and sedition. That's what he did. Am I right or wrong? He incited treason and sedition, caused 5 people to die, including a police officer. And the response from the president who's supposed to be taking over, his response was, you know what? I don't think we're going to prosecute him. We just want him to go away. Really? How do you get to go away after you incited a riot and treason and caused people to die? It still shows you, even in the state that they're trying to be the most genuine, they're still flawed because they don't have God. They are oppressors and oppressive, and that's who God sent us in the midst of, oppressive people to oppress. Don't expect justice. Don't expect peace. The only peace and justice that you're going to get is by you figuring out a way to get past your love for the captor, learn to love your brother, and let us all start to work together. That's when peace is going to come. Because at least at that point, what you have is you have some people that you know will be able to stand with you together when the oppressors finish dealing with what they're dealing with and when they come after you. That's right. Because that's all that's going to happen. People are worked up. People are upset. Think about it. If you think about this just a year ago, just short of a year ago, in January of 2020, that's when they had, we don't talk about no more. That's when they had the march at the Lincoln Memorial with the students and the Native American, where they were beefing at guess where? The Lincoln Memorial. The place that's supposed to be a place of peace for the country, where you were able to free everyone else, and that's where they were beefing. Not too long later, once again, in Washington, this is what you have. Come on.
9. I would even make them a horror among all the kingdoms of the earth for evil, a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse.
For the
in
people
all places whither I shall drive
For
them.
the people who stayed in the land. You can't figure God out. Can't figure God out. Come on.
10. And I will send the sword, famine, and the pestilence among them till they be consumed from off the land that I give them and to their fathers.
So now, I want us to remember what actually happened. So when the king of Babylon came in, they took the first wave of deportees, like I said, around 597 BCE, before the Common Era. They took them and they went down to Babylon, and they were, whatever happened in Babylon. When you read about the history of Nebuchadnezzar, you don't really read that he was the vicious type that killed and maimed and murdered the people who he already had under subjugation. What happened was, at that point, it was about money and taxes and all of those different things. So those people who went down in the first wave, you see the people who they took were the, what's the word I'm looking for? The craftsmen. The craftsmen and all of those different things. So the nobility, so they took them down there to work. But for that next 11 years, under Zedekiah, that's when all of this, the stuff that you read about in Deuteronomy 28, the vicious acts of them eating their children and so on and so forth, that's what happened in those last 11 years under Zedekiah, after the king of Babylon came and besieged the city again for the last 3 years until they were able to breach the walls. So the people who stayed historically got the worst, because that's when the fury of the Most High God was at its highest. And that's exactly what you're seeing here, which Jeremiah is prophesying, which is going to come to pass within the next 7 years or so. Come on.
Chapter 25. The word that came to Yirmiyahu concerning all the people of Yehudah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Yehudah. That was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon.
So now, just to qualify my statement, you see this prophecy, or this speaking, this portion took place in the 4th year when Jehoiakim was still king, versus 24, which took place after Jehoiakim had already died and his son had taken over, and Nebuchadnezzar had already come in and taken that first wave. Come on.
2. Which Yirmiyahu the prophet spoke unto all the people of Yehudah and to the inhabitants of Yisrael, saying,
Listen to what he's saying. Come on.
From the 13th year of Josiah the son of Ammon, king of Yehudah, even unto this day, these 23 years the word of Yahweh hath come unto me.
So I want to, because I know different books are going to read different ways. So I want us to understand exactly what it's saying. So Jeremiah started prophesying from the 13th year of Josiah. And right now what you're reading is giving the impression that this is the 23rd year, meaning 10 years later. This is not. This is actually, that 23 years that they're talking about is actually 23 years later. So when you read it in the Hebrew, you see that it's actually saying for the past 23 years, I have been talking. Come on.
And I have spoken unto you, speaking betimes and often.
Come on.
But ye have not hearkened.
Come on.
And Yahweh hath sent unto you his servants the prophets.
Come on.
Sending them betimes and often. But ye have not hearkened nor inclined your ears, saying.
So remember, Jeremiah wasn't the only one prophesying at that time, because Ezekiel was also prophesying around the same time. And some of the other minor prophets were also prophesying around that same time. Come on.
Return ye now every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that Yahweh hath given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever. And go not after other gods to serve them, and to worship them, and provoke me not with the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt. Yet,
Come on.
ye have not hearkened unto me, saith Yahweh, that ye might provoke me with your words.
So now, hold on right there. So now, listen to what Jeremiah is saying. Jeremiah, and because I want us to put this in perspective, Jeremiah is saying, for the past 23 years, I have been coming to you, telling you, God said this. God said, get your life together. God said, don't serve other gods. God said, dwell in this land in peace. For the last 23 years, I have been saying this to you on a consistent basis. So now, just projecting a little bit, think about you. Think about me. Think about us right now, and think about how the last 23 years of your life has been. Think about the fact that for the last 23 years that you've been keeping Sabbath, and the last 23 years that you've been keeping law, and for the last 23 years that you've been doing here, and the Most High God gave you teachings every week. Mm-hmm. The Most High God gave you teaching often in between times, and he had people to come up to teach and talk and yell and cry and do whatever it is that they could muster up to try to bring the message to God people, and yet we're still in the position that we're in right now. I just want us to put it in perspective and see the parallel. Because for the last 23 years, and that's exactly what Jeremiah is telling them. And it said for the last 23 years, but you have not hearkened to my words. Come on.
Saith Jehovah, that ye might provoke me with the works of your hands to your own hurt.
And that's what happened. You know, one of the things about the Most High God is that if you look at the characteristics that the Most High God show in the wilderness, because I think what happened in the wilderness throughout the book of Numbers is an excellent example of how we as a people acted and how God responded. Because I'm give you one example. They were in the wilderness, and they just said, they complained and they beefed about water. That's all they asked for. They asked for water. They asked for food. They asked for quails. And when Moses went to God, God's response was, how long will these people despise me? Mm-hmm. But all they was doing was asking for quails and water. But it wasn't that you were asking for quails and water. It was how you acted and how you went about doing it. Because the Most High God was already taking care of you. He was giving you everything that you needed. We just weren't happy because it wasn't what we wanted. And that was the problem. And often, what so happens oftentimes is when we have the things that we need, and we're not happy because we don't have what we want. Typically what happens is that amounts to you taking what God gave you for granted, because God already gave you what you needed. He already gave us what we needed.
Therefore, thus saith Jehovah of hosts, because ye have not hearkened, because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith Jehovah, and I will send unto Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, my servant, and I will bring them against the land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all the nations round about, and I will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, a hissing, and a perpetual desolation.
Okay, so hold on, and I'm going to let them read some, but because I want us to look at this, because often we see where they start talking about those north countries, and most of the time when they're talking about those north countries, they're talking about the countries like the Greeks and the Romans that were coming in, that of the captivity of which we're still under. The Latin Empire, the Roman Empire of which we're still under. In this case, that's not what they're talking about. If you read historically what happened in the 700s BC, between the 700s BC and right when we went into captivity, but if you read from the 700s BCE, to the 600s BCE, what you're going to see is there were wars everywhere. All those nations were all coming against each other. Remember what happened in the book of Isaiah. When Sennacherib came against Isaiah, remember? They came against, against Hezekiah. And they had Hezekiah trapped like a caged bird. If you read it in the inscriptions of Sennacherib, you'll see that that's exactly how it's written. And then it said that they had to go back and they had to fight wars over here against Libnah. And they had to go and fight wars over here against the Egyptians and against the king of Ethiopia. Because what was happening is all of those nations in that area were all fighting against each other. They were all coming together with each other and fighting against other ones of each other. The Sumerians, who they say are from the son of from Gomer, the son of Japhet. All of them in that area right above the Black Sea, they were all coming fighting against each other. And the reason that the Most High God said Nebuchadnezzar was his tool, because Nebuchadnezzar, when he came over, he subdued the entire region from all that fighting. So when you look at this later and you read where they're going to talk about Tyre and the Philistines and the Edomites and Moab, they were all fighting against each other in that region, some coming from the north, some coming from all directions, and Nebuchadnezzar came in and subdued everybody. And those are the prophecies that you read about in the book of Isaiah coming to pass in the book of Jeremiah. Come on.
Verse 10. Moreover, I will cause to cease from among them the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride.
They weren't singing. They weren't singing when Zedekiah, when they had him trapped up in that city. They weren't singing then. They weren't singing. There was no holy day. There was none of that. Come on.
The sound of the millstone and the light of the lamp. 11. And this whole land shall be a desolation and a waste. And these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70
Everybody.
years.
It wasn't just Israel. It was everybody that Babylon came and took over. It wasn't just Israel. It was everybody. Come on.
And it shall come to pass when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, saith Jehovah, for their iniquity, and the land of the Chaldeans. And I will make it a perpetual desolation. And I will bring upon that land all my words which I have pronounced against it, even all that is written in this book, which Yirmiyahu who have prophesied against all the nations. For many nations and great kings shall make bondmen of them also, and I will recompense them according to their deeds and according to their works of their own hands.
Come on.
For thus saith Yehovah Elohei Yisrael unto me, take this cup of wine of my fury at my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it, and they shall drink and reel to and fro, and be like madmen because of the sword that I will sling amongst them.
Everybody. Come on.
Then I took the cup of Jehovah's hand, and made all the nations to drink, unto whom Jehovah hath sent me, Jerusalem and the cities of Yehudah, the kings thereof and the princes thereof, to make them an applement and an astonishment and a hissing and a curse, as it is this day.
Come on.
Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his servants and
Everybody.
his princes,
Come
and
on.
all his people, and all
Everybody.
the mingled people, and all the kings of the land of Uz,
Everybody.
and all the kings of the land of the Philistines, and Ashkelon, and Gaza, and Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod.
So now, hold on a second. So now, if you came into Israel because somebody told you that we could have multiple women, then you came in for the wrong reason. Right? If you came into Israel because you thought everything was going to be gravy when you came in, guess what? You came for the wrong reason. Because the prophet and the people of God, they have the hardest job ever. Think about what, if you really look at what they said Jeremiah had to do, God told Jeremiah to go to all of those nations that were round about and make them symbolically drink from this cup of fury. And that's what Jeremiah had to do. So Jeremiah had to go down into Egypt, and Jeremiah had to go over to the Philistines, and Jeremiah had to cross the Jordan and go over to Moab and all of these different places. Jeremiah had to go all the way to the north to Tyre and to Lebanon and to all of those places. Jeremiah had to do all of that. And prophesy to the nations and make them drink. We have a job. Only thing I'm saying is we have a job, and we don't have time to be sitting around hanging out just wasting time because we have a job. Part of our job is all of the people, guess what? All of our people who looked at the news and saw what happened this week that are scared and concerned and don't know what to do, part of our job is to comfort them and to make them feel better. It's all part of the job. Come on.
Edom and Moab, and
Everybody.
the children of Ammon, and all the kings of Tyre, and
And the
all the
list
kings
goes
of
on.
Sidon, and the kings of the isles which is beyond the sea,
The list goes
Dedan and Tema and Booz, and all that have corners of their heads polled, and all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the wilderness, and all the kings of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam, and the kings of the Medes, and all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the world which are upon the face of the earth, and the king of Shishak shall drink of them after them.
Come on.
And thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim Yisrael, Drink ye and be drunken, and spew and fall, and rise no more, because of the sword which I will send among you.
So now, just think about it. All of these nations that the Most High called out, it said after they drink that they're going to be drunken and they're going to not rise up anymore. And if you look about the Elamite Empire, which was a great empire at the time, you don't hear about him anymore. The Assyrian Empire, you don't hear about him anymore. The Syrians, the Philistines, the Ammonites and the Moabites, you don't hear about them anymore. Because God's word is true. And even in the places where Babylon used to be, which is Iraq, and even in place where the Elamites used to be, which is Iran, they're still not built up nowhere near the way they were before. Because when the Most High sent the nations from the extreme north, and they came down and they partitioned and cut up the Middle East, right before they partitioned and cut up Africa, they have the land that's allotted to them by the Europeans that came in, and they bet not cross a border or else it's going to be a problem.
Yes, sir.
Come on.
28.
And
it
God is
shall
king
be-
because God knows people. Come on.
And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thy hand to drink, then thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith Yahweh Sabaoth, Ye shall surely drink.
Oh, you going to drink.
For lo,
you gonna drink.
I begin to bring evil on the city whereupon my name is called. And should ye be utterly unpunished?
Nah. So now, listen to what God said. He said, so he's going to bring the cup of fury on all of those nations. Guess what? Those are all of the same nations that came against Israel at different times, at different points. When you read in the Psalms where it said all of these nations conspired against Israel, that's all of them. And so listen to what God says. He says, you will surely, and it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup, you shall surely drink. For lo, I begin to bring evil on the city whereupon my name is called. Talking about Jerusalem. I'm going to bring evil upon them. And if I'm going to bring evil upon them, surely everybody else is not going to go unpunished.
Right.
God is just. And that's why I'm going to just be honest again. Because I want to be clear. At no point am I rejoicing or happy for anyone that dies, anyone that hurts. However, you cannot expect that I'm not going to speak up when you worried about a person who was shot while trespassing and breaking and entering, and you worried about them, and I'm going to speak up about why y'all not worried and upset about Breonna Taylor, and why you not worried and upset about Ahmaud Arbery, and why you not worried and upset about all of those. So I was watching CNN, and I was watching Don Lemon and Andrew Cuomo. So now, please, I don't want to hear it. For everybody who's about to fix their fingers to type or text or tweet about Don Lemon's history, I don't care. Listen to me, I'm trying to make a point.
It's bad that you got a prefix.
I'm just saying, because I know people. I know my people. Don Lemon and Cuomo. So usually Don Lemon and Cuomo are very friendly. They end each show with, I love you, D. Lemon. I love you, Cuomo. All that.
Yeah.
When you watch them this time, Don Lemon was very upset because in everything that you're going to say Don Lemon is still black. And Don Lemon was able to speak to his frustration as being black in a way that Cuomo could not understand because he is not black. He doesn't feel, it's not the same. It's not the same. And so again, I'm not speaking hate about anybody who was hurt, but I am speaking hurt for the people who've been murdered, killed, and all of these different things. I am speaking hurt for them because I feel that. I'm going to be honest with you, right? Anybody see the movie Braveheart? Yeah. People used to talk about Braveheart, and people used to talk about Braveheart is a great movie about freedom and standing up. And so I watched the whole 8 hours of Braveheart.
Right. Never watched it before?
No, I watched it after people was talking about it. I watched every second of the 8 hours. Right. And at the end where they said, you got to see the end, the greatest part where Mel Gibson stood up and they asked him and they had him in a torture rack and they was twisting and twisting and twisting. And they asked the king, just tried to get him to say okay to break the will of the people. And Mel Gibson yelled out and he said, freedom. And everybody was clapping and everybody was happy. And I looked at the movie and I said, I'm touched because I can't relate.
Right.
I can't relate. I don't know what that feels like. Can't relate. Yet when I watched John Q and I saw Denzel do everything that he had to do to save his little boy, then I could relate. I could relate then. And that's what happens when they try to separate. They give you these whitewashed movies about things. They give you the Harriet Tubman movie and it's whitewashed. They give you the Martin Luther King movie and it's whitewashed. I just found out that Martin Luther King didn't die from the shot, that he actually died in the hospital.
Yep,
later.
Let him die.
Just found that out.
Yep.
Can't relate. I can't relate. When I sit in the midst of a people who constantly shoot and kill and hunt my people down, and you want me to accept someone I can't relate. I'm not going to be able to do it.
Ye shall not be unpunished, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith Yahuwah Tzebaot. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, Yahuwah doth roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He doth mightily roar because of his foes.
That's what I'm talking about. Come on.
He gives a shout, as they that tread upon the grapes, against all the inhabitants of the earth. A noise is come even to the end of the earth, for Yahuwah hath a controversy with the nations. He doth plead with all flesh.
Judge. He does judge all flesh. The God that I'm talking about is king. The God that I'm talking about is just and right. So when I don't get justice in a place where I'm not expected to get justice from, guess what? I turn to the ultimate judge, who I know justice will come from. So I don't get concerned. I don't worry about what happens here, because I know God is king. I'm very worried about coronavirus, but I also know that God is king. So I come out because I feel like it's our obligation. I'm not speaking to anybody else. If you don't come, don't come. I'm not upset. But I do feel like it's my obligation to come out and teach God. Guess what? I feel like it's my obligation to come out and teach God people. People were dying in the midst of the plague, and Aharon had to run in the middle of life and death. And it said Aharon stood in the middle of the dead and the living. Guess what? That's our job. It's our job. And I'm unapologetic about doing it. And it's just like with Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael said, I know God can save. I know God can save. And even if he chooses not to, God is still king.
That's it. That's what they said. That's what they said. He doth judge all flesh.
Everybody.
As for the wicked, he hath given them to the sword, saith Yahuwah. Thus saith Yahuwah Tzebaot, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great storm shall be raised up. from the uttermost parts of the earth.
You see how he's talking about evil shall go forth from nation to nation? Let me let you in on a little something. And I'm learning this more and more as I'm studying these different historical aspects. Guess what? This whole thing about nations being civilized and all those different things, that's fairly recently. If an American president did what happened today, did what happened the other day, 60 years ago, guess what? Russia would have been in the United States attacking. All of those other nations would have been in the United States attacking because nations just attack nations. That's what they always did. That's what God talking about now. And the nations saw vulnerability, just like then, just like with the Assyrians, just like now. The only difference is things, you got cell phones and cameras and things are a little bit more diplomatic. But guess what? In those 9 weeks that he was beefing and complaining, Russia attacked the United States with cyber attacks multiple times. Because they see vulnerability. So when we show as God's people, we need to stand up and we need to show strength. I wash, I be careful. When I'm out amongst people who I know have no concept of God, I wear a mask and all of that. I come here and I have to show strength because people need to see strength in God. They need to see something from black people that they haven't seen in a long time. They need to see black people stand up, strong, speak intelligent, speak right, speak godly. That's what people need to see. That's what we're trying to show. Come on.
33. And the slain of Adonai shall be at that day from one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth, and they shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the face of the ground. Well, ye shepherds, and cry, and wallow yourselves in the dust, ye leaders of the flock, for the days of your slaughter are fully come, and I will break you in pieces. You shall fall like precious vessels, and the shepherd shall have no way to flee, nor the leaders of the flocks to escape. Hark, the cry of the shepherds and the wailing of the leaders of the flock, for Yahweh despoileth their pasture, and the peaceable foes are brought to silence because of the fierce anger of Yah.
Say that again.
Hark, the cry of the shepherds and the wailing of the leaders of the flock, for Yahweh despoileth their pasture, and the peaceable foes are brought to silence because of the fierce anger of Yahweh. He hath forsaken his covert as the lion, for their land has become waste because of the fierceness of the oppressing sword and because of his fierce anger. Hallelujah.
All honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks I offer unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, thanking him for all things and thanking him for everything. I bid you in the tongue of our forefathers. Shabbat Shalom L'kol.
Shabbat Shalom L'kol. Hallelujah. Thanking the creator of heaven and earth, Yahweh Zevaot, for this day. Thanking the Most High God for the life of Samal, Zaccar, Ben Dan, for the powerful lesson, for the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that the Most High God has granted him. So I see that there's a discussion online about polygyny and whether or not, yeah, because I think when you said if you coming in here because you think you can have multiple wives, then that's the wrong reason for coming in here. So I must say this: the nation of Israel was created from a polygynous relationship. A man with 4 women. He didn't want 4 women, but he ended up with 4 women. That was the will of the Creator. That was the will or else it wouldn't have happened that way. You understand what I'm saying? So it happened that way. And through them is the nation of Israel. The Most High did tell kings not to multiply wives, right? Or horses. Or because if he multiply wives, he's going to have all the best of the wives of all the community and of the nation, right? But polygyny is something that was practiced in our culture. And it's nothing different than what people do today, which they do it hiding and doing it behind the back, when in a society that's a polygynous society, people live that life openly. When you go to certain places in Africa, you go to places in the Middle East, people are living this lifestyle openly, right? In more parts of the world, this is being done openly than in Western society where it's being done secretly, and a man is still having more than one, but he's doing it secretly, and because of your religious belief, they make you think that you're committing adultery, and that is not adultery. Adultery is not a man having more than one woman, right? Adultery is when a married woman or a man goes and has sexual intercourse or relations with a married woman. That's adultery. Not what adultery teach you in that new book. In our book, it doesn't say that. Now, we don't come up here and pontificate go and grab 1 million women, but we don't say that there's something wrong with it. Right? Because God didn't say that there was anything wrong with it. If you feel that way, and that's the way that you feel, then that's okay for you. Maybe you are a guy that just needs one woman. And that's a blessing. And it's your business. But nowhere does it say that in the Tanakh that it's against Torah for someone. God doesn't tell us to do it, but it's nowhere in Torah does it say that you cannot do it. Right? So and it speaks about laws of if a man takes another woman, right, and she be a servant, right, he can't diminish from that, from the servant girl, right, the girl that came in through servitude, right, and he got to give her all her raiment, he got to give her conjugal rights, and he got to give her food. And he can't cut it off from her because she's already coming from a low state, being a servant girl, right? But men, in some instances, have multiple wives, and in some instances, they didn't. It wasn't their cup of tea, and they didn't indulge in it. Sometimes in Torah, you might have your wife, your brother dies, he has no seed left to him. The commandment of God tells you, it say he must go into his brother's wife, right, and raise up seed in his brother's name because he had no son, right, to raise up in his name. So he got to raise that seed that come out, that male child that comes out of his brother's wife, so that he could inherit his brother's portion. So that's Torah. I'm not making that up. I'm telling you what Torah said. It's difficult, yes, to do it in America, and it's difficult to do it in certain Western society, but if you go to an Middle Eastern society, or you go to an African society, people, this is the life that they live. And probably your father lived it, and you didn't even know. Your grandfather lived it, and you didn't know. But now with technology and everything is out of, but when dad was away for 3-4 days, you didn't know what he was doing. He didn't let you know what he was doing. So thank you the Most High God. And there's no argument, it's just breaking down Torah. All right? Thank you the Most High God for all things and everything. People, sometimes, you don't understand it. You don't see it, and it's okay. But Torah is Torah, and we can't change Torah. Amen. And it is what the Most High God left on record. Amen. So we give glory to the Most High King. We pray that the Most High King will continue to be with us, protect us and guide us, keep us, that the Most High will continue to bless us even through this week, and that the Creator of heaven and earth will continue to be with his people, Yisrael, wherever we might be scattered in the four corners of the earth. At this time, I'll ask us all to rise as I say the words that the Most High God gave unto Moshe to give unto our Aaron and his sons to bless the children of Yisrael, hoping and praying that the Creator of heaven and earth will look down upon each and every one of us and grant us a blessing. Wadaber Yehovah el Moshe lemor, daber el Aharon ve'el benal lemor, ko tavarku et bnei Yisrael amor lahem. And Yehovah spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto Aharon and unto his son, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Yisrael. Ye shall say unto them, Yivarekah Yehovah Yishmarekah, Ya'ir Yehovah Panawalekah Wikunekah, Yisai Yehovah Panawalekah Weyasim Lekah Shalom. May Yehovah bless thee and keep thee. May Yehovah make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon thee, and may he grant thee peace. Hallelujah. Please be seated for announcements. Thanking all of you for coming on to the, right now and making our afternoon just as wonderful as our morning, you know. And we thank the Most High God for all of you online, for supporting us, for being there with us, donating to us, and really thinking that, you know, we are important enough to listen to on a weekly basis. We thank all of you for being there, for supporting us. So for all of you that would like to leave donations, you can make donations out to BEIT D.C.B, B-E-I-T D.C.B. We're located at 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, and the zip code is 11231. Once again, that's BEIT D.C.B, B-E-I-T D.C.B, 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11231. Also, you could donate to us on Cash App. Now, the phone with the Cash App is dead, and I didn't have any charge of the charges, so not going to be able to tell who are the people who donated. But donate on your Cash App, and we'll make note of it. So we'd like to thank Morelania, the same thing, for your donation. Elimelech Yisrael, thank you for your donation. Yemima Prescott, thank you for your donation. Kohen Z. Al, thank you for your donation. Zeb Benyamin, thank you for your donation. I'd like to thank all of you that continue to donate to us, that continue to make us your congregation of choice. I see there's more donations coming up, but it's not popping up on mine. Let me make sure. So I'm not sure if there are any other announcements. Let me see, there's some other names up here. Monsieur Pearsall, thank you for your donation. Marsha Yisrael, thank you for your donation. And Robert something. Robert, thank you for your donation. All right. So that's Robert, the Sheriff Pearsall, and Marsha Yisrael. Thank you for your donations. They're truly appreciated. May the Most High God bless each and every one of you. Are there any other announcements? Anybody else? Anything else we need to announce? So next week we should be back in full effect for everyone out there. And full effect means that our people that usually comes out, we had to hit the reset button this week, but we hope that the Most High God be with us all and protect us. That's it? That's it? We have Prince Rishadai here. I don't know if you want to say a couple of words in closing out of the, call him up to say a couple of words to the people online. You got a following out there, man.
Well, actually, the glory belongs to the Creator. I don't have a following. You know what I mean? All I do is try to win friends, influence people to a better way of life and a better lifestyle, which is not myself, but towards the Torah, towards the Creator, wherever they may be. First of all, I give praise to Supreme Eternal Universe, God, my forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and due respect to Chief Prince Ariel, and the Prince's chief brother and sister in the whole house, Yisrael, and the congregation D.C.B. I greet you in the time of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem. And, Mosaic, Shabbat, we're about over with now. But I got here, I was trying to make here earlier, but sometimes the road be kind of rough, thank the Creator that I made it here. And I'm glad to be here, around the brothers, because those that might watch the interviews, I have more fun talking with the brothers here on the sideline, with the feedback and everything like that there, with a lot of other great teachers that's up here. And, and I appreciate the opportunity. And, like I said, I just try to present other points of view, not to change anybody's view when I normally do those little excerpts on the Sidros. I just try to give you a variety points of view. So, like I said, it's not about following myself, but basically, to give you more, try to help direct you toward the Creator. And you notice I say try to direct you to the Creator as opposed to lead you to the Creator. Because I don't want you to be following myself, and you shouldn't be following any other individual. Only individual the Creator allowed in Torah to be followed is only his instructions, and that's the Torah Moshe, the instructions of Moshe. Torah Yehoshua, and it was told also, you read about it way in Shalom Hamelech, Solomon, King Solomon. So that's our job, no matter where we at, no matter what platform we stand on. It's never about trying to get our congregation really big. It's really trying to get closer to the Creator ourselves. And while we come in, if something is good, we want it for you. So we want you to get closer to the Creator, and you got to find Creator and in your best, at your best. All right, and with that, I'll be talking later on in the week. All right, so say Shalom Aleichem.
I enjoyed it last night at Crown Prince.
Hallelujah. Thanking the Most High God for the life of Crown Prince Arishadai, Nasik Arishadai. May the Most High God bless you, Nasik, and we thank the Most High God for your safe arrival, and we pray that he will return you back safely. So that's it for everyone out there. Thank you once again for tuning in. May the Most High God bless each and every one of you. Shalom, shalom, and we'll see y'all during the week whenever we see y'all, but we're going to see each other before the Shabbat day. I'm sure of that. Blessed be. And, hopefully with the blessing of the Creator, I pray to the Most High God to be with each and every one of you. Everyone have a blessed week. Shalom, shalom.